Arise, minions, and welcome to unMadeGaming. We are here. We are back for this month's episode of The Rise. And yes, we are missing everyone's favorite soft little tailor, Minahan. He will return from parts unknown soon enough. If you guys like what we do here and you want to support this channel, the best way to do that is over on our Patreon, like these fine folks here. Link for that in the description down below. Join us over there at the $5 tier. Get access to all of our after shows for this show and all of our shows for the past 3 years. And if you join right now, there's a 7-day free trial at that tier, so go check it out for free and see what it's all about. That being said, while you're down there, click on that Discord link, join us in the Discord, be a part of the community, be a part of the conversation, and as always, in the bottom right-hand corner, you would see the corruption bar. That bar serves two purposes. One is when that bar fills, I do terrible things to my players and their characters, and as of right now, I am all out of corruption bars. I have spent all of them. Last episode was the last one I had, so I'm fresh. It's a clean slate for you guys. And thing two is every single dollar that goes into that bar goes back to this channel for all kinds of cool things like upgrades and lights and tech and editors and art and all kinds of fun stuff. And keeping my lights on in my house. So that being said, and without further ado, previously on The Rise, Jaceith's forces have besieged Samora in the aftermath of the attack from the Favored, and their forces need neither sleep nor sustenance to maintain their attack. With permission from the Queen, Captain Darian Hargens pledged himself and his reformed knights to Antares as a new order called the Knights of Redemption. And with a crafty plan, some well-placed magic, and good old-fashioned guile, Seydlitz was able to sneak behind enemy lines, steal plans, and abscond into the safety of Samora. So we see Seydlitz like disappear out of the camp and reappear within the confines of Samora. We have Antares on the parapets of the city walls, covering. We have Mina, who is manning the walls with his guards, and Korax was at the gate, summoning a giant dragon head to startle the forces of Jaceith and Chryserich. And then he hit the ground and his eyes rolled back and he went on a little date. Went on a little fun time. Hold on 1 second. Gee, change your name. Name in Zoom. As I almost just called you the wrong name. And we see Korax, knees to the ground, eyes rolled back in his head as he's sort of in this almost prayer sort of state, where his head sort of rolls back as his eyes do, and the magic of this dragon begins to fade. And Terry's, you have no sign of Seydlitz returning, because that's how teleportation works. But you do see the magic around this draconic head begin to slowly fade. But it does so in a way that you would not expect. It begins to like decay, and not like, magical or nuclear decay. It's like from the mouth where that is breathing this like faux magical fire. It begins to like the skin begins to peel back and slowly rot. And you see like it becomes like muscle and bone and sinew, and you begin to see that like decay over time until it's like a big like dragon skull, and that begins to crumble and fade into dust, and it's gone. You don't know whether that was intentional for Korax to do a cool outro like that. But
he's not so flashy like that.
Yeah.
And the fact that the whole city of Samora is now screaming in fear, I don't think that was his intention either.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone is terrified. And as you look around trying to figure out what is going on, you see that he has collapsed on the ground below you.
Yeah. So she will roll off the parapet, catch on the edge with her hand, and then drop down really cool style, and then she will run to his side, and she's gonna look him up and down and go, "Hey, wake up!"
You drop down, you run, and you kind of skid into the dirt and sort of like almost catch him, even though he's not like falling. He's sort of knelt back on his like ass to like his heels.
Because he was standing before, right?
Yeah. Essentially, imagine if you were standing and you went to like sitting on your heels. Is how he is, with his head sort of stepped back and his eyes rolled backwards.
Yeah.
You go over there and sort of grab him, and his body is slack. Like whatever was holding him up was just his spine. And as soon as you touch him, he sort of crumples into you, and you see that his eyes are rolled back in his head.
Yeah.
He seems to be unresponsive.
Corax, wake up! And she's gonna like jiggle him a little bit, and then she's gonna like start patting his cheek, and then if he's not waking up, pat.
He does not seem to wake up. You start patting and you progress to slapping, and that does not wake him up.
Okay. Oddly enough, it doesn't feel as good as I thought it would have.
Yeah.
So she
without him acknowledging it, it takes away some of the luster.
Yeah. It just turns into abuse after a while.
Yeah.
Okay. so I don't think I have any abilities that I can try and Lyle's gonna try one thing. Because we're freaking demigods now. She's gonna close her eyes and she's gonna say a prayer
to
the God of Knowledge.
Awesome. What does a prayer to the God of Knowledge look like?
Hey, fuckface. No, I'm just kidding.
We all expect that.
So she's like cradling him, like his like ass is on the ground, and she's holding him by his back, and so she like bows her head and she thinks. She's like, and she just calls out his name in her mind, and she goes, Corax, can you hear me?
Roll me a difficulty. Actually, you know what? Let me see here.
Difficulty.
Did I?
Corax is a high difficulty, Mike.
I did make stats.
Because he's difficult to deal with.
He is difficult to deal with. You're right. Roll me a difficulty 9 intellect task.
Seriously?
No, I just make numbers up, G.
9?
Yeah. You're a demigod now. Figure it out.
Oh, fuck. Well, none of my divine shifts go into that.
Well, you made a beefcake, not a bookworm.
Well, yeah, but I can still fucking pray, can I? So there's no really point in me rolling, because there's no, unless I'm spending my effort, which I don't even think lowers it enough.
You have 2 effort, right?
Yeah.
So that lowers it to a 7, which is a 21.
It's also been 6 weeks since we played. I don't think I can lower it as anything else.
Make an argument. You tell me why you can lower it.
Corax always wanted to be prayed to. He's very receptive to my prayers.
That's a good argument. I will give you I will give you an asset for that. That is a solid argument. Corax does want to be prayed to. You're not wrong.
Difficulty 9. 2 effort. I'm burning all my intellect freaking to do this. 1 asset.
It's just 5 intellect. You're fine. And you succeeded.
Jesus Christ.
Who'd have thought that would happen? You hit
whenever I pray to him lately, like all my intellect stuff has been succeeding. Just say.
It turns out you got to pray to him more, I guess, is the thing here. Shit. Okay, cool. No one expected this to happen. Least of all me. Cool. You cradle Corax in your arms like a little bookish baby. And you pray. You reach out to the God of knowledge. Or you really demand an audience with the God of knowledge. I don't think there's no grace to it for Antares. and combined with your shake of him, there is a little bit of aggression. And Korax, you are on your knees in front of the Rakshasa Queen, and she, or the Rakshasa Queen, and she has demanded the head of the King of Nod, and you have expressed to her that you had an agreement, and she has grown tired of waiting. For you, it has only been a few weeks since your disagreement, or since your agreement. But for her, she seems to be vexed by this amount of time. And you hear in the distance, as if coming from a far off mountain peak, your name being shouted. You hear like a little mousy, Korax, come from seemingly nowhere. And you feel a jerk in that same direction. But as you sit there and try to like figure out what the hell's happening, and also placate the Rakshasa Queen, you realize that the jerk was less of a feeling of you being pulled and more of a feeling of you being an anchor and someone is pulling themselves towards you. And Terry's, you see a very strange sight befall you. The world you're seeing of Samora begins to slowly fade as you close your eyes and pray to the god of knowledge. You begin to see like this strange almost hellscape. You see a miasma of like purples and blues and bright colors and what could be like stars maybe of some like distant realm that you're unaware of. And you, as you quickly pass through that like a comet overhead, you find yourself standing over what looks like it could be the Afterworld, but things are destroyed. There are new locations built. Mountain peaks have been raised. There's fire in certain places, and you see these strange creatures flying overhead. And you see like the wailing bodies and souls of people bound in chains, almost like a chain gang. You see a creature made of like a creature made of skeletons and bones, sort of an amalgam of corpses roaming the ground. This thing must be maybe like like elephant size is what we would know is the size of this creature, stomping through the ground as you yourself are pulled towards this area you've never seen before. And the
He
closer
doesn't
you
want to be here.
yeah, the closer you get, the more it comes into focus. This tiered, almost like Incan style pyramid, where you see stairs in the center and atop of which is this throne, and you see Korax is knelt at the top of this throne, and a woman, ostensibly. A woman stands before him, much taller than him or you, resplendent in her gown, and she seems to be demanding something of Korax. And as you pull yourself along what amounts to be a chain, you find yourself like hand over a chain, like you didn't even know it was there. You every time you pull yourself forward, you see Korax like his back gets pulled towards you a little bit, as if he is anchored to you, or you are anchored to him. What do? You realize this as you kind of regain control of yourself.
Yeah, she doesn't want to be here, and she knows where she is and what she's looking at, because when Korax died back in Nod, she read the Book of Korax. So she read the interaction between the two of them, and she knows that that's the Rakshasa Queen. And she thinks that Korax is in trouble. Is he chained? Like she's holding his chain, or a chain.
The queen is holding a chain menacingly, but it is not attached to Korax. The only thing attached to Korax is the chain you are holding. And as you look at it, it only seems to be real in the next 5 or so feet, and then you see it like fade out into like invisibleness but every time you pull on it, you see him yank back a little bit.
Does she seem to react to what I'm doing to him?
She does not.
Okay. Um. Uh. Hmm.
The closer you get to him, the more you recognize this whole area, which is built of bone and ice,
Yeah.
to be Corso.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Okay.
It looks like if you replaced Corso with like instead of like the darkness of Corso with like the red dim light of Nod, it is bones and ice. So it's like this
a different-
whitish blue hue. But as you are overhead, you recall being in this monstrous tower of Nelumbriel and seeing the city from overhead. And this perspective, this looks like the layout of Corso, albeit slightly different, with buildings and stuff. And they're definitely made out of bones and ice.
Like if she was the ruler of Corso, this is what it would look like.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, she's gonna get closer to see if she can hear what's going on.
Okay. You continue to pull yourself closer, and Corax, you begin to like feel that jerk every like couple seconds, and you can look over your shoulder if you'd like, and if you do so, you see Antares pulling herself along a chain that is attached to you.
Am I like swimming? Like, am I like floating in the air?
Kind of,
or-
yeah, yeah. It's like imagine if you were to like invert the world and like Corax is the boat, you are climbing up the chain. So from your perspective, you're climbing up it, but from his perspective, he just looks backwards and you're just going like horizontally across the
Mhm.
chain.
Looks more ridiculous that way than it does going up. but-
Mhm. Absolutely does. But that's the fun of different realms. So Corax, you see this if you so choose. What are you doing?
When Corax hears the voice of Antares, the whole time he'd be like, "Look, my subjects are calling me. I need to go. I get we have a deal, and Dragon or the King of Nod get you one of their heads, but like I need to go. There is a war on, and if I die, it's not going to help your cause because I can't kill the others." And he looks back to see Antares. I really need to go quickly.
She looks to you, and she says, "If our deal is not commenced, I can easily shift my power to those of your enemies. Your petulant little war does nothing for me here. All souls end up in my forces anyway. So it's just a matter of time before they or you join us here. I want one thing."
Technically, you did say that people could end up anywhere, so could end up in someone else's space. I'm gonna end up in Soul Rest, but it could end up in someone else's space, and that would help them a lot.
It's a good argument. It's a good argument there. She looks to you again, and she says, "I will not call you again. This needs to happen. You are on borrowed time."
I'm aware, but we did have a deal, and you pulling me away in the middle of the war kind of goes against that deal that we made. So, like, I need to deal with the war, and then I can deal with your problems. Sorry, our problems. They're big problems.
She walks over towards you, still on your knees, and she raises one of her clawed feet, and she like puts it to your like shoulder and chest, and she kicks you down the stairs. You feel the force of her foot sort of launch you, almost not off the ground, but definitely like tips you backwards down a massive flight of stairs, and you feel that vertigo feeling. And Terry's, you see this as well as you're pulling. And instead of you pulling towards him, as soon as like his line essentially goes slack from being tossed, you pull on it and it tightens the chain again, and you begin staying in place and pulling him towards you. Corax, you feel this lurch as you expect it to fall down the stairs, and you begin to get pulled towards her, or you get pulled towards Antares, and you see the Rakshasa Queen look at you, and then look beyond you, and then her face changes from the anger that she had to shock.
Yeah, when that happens, I'm gonna try and pull us out of there.
Okay, how you want to do
that? I would love to use a might defense.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, and she's trying to protect Korax because she just fucking kicked her friend, right?
Yeah.
No one kicks Korax but me.
That's true.
Just joking. I love you. So her intention is to protect him from her. So she pulls the chain as hard as she can, and she says sorry, and she just yanks. And yeah, so she's gonna do a might defense.
Okay.
Roll. Okay, so I do have 3 divine shifts in might defense. Okay, so what's my difficulty for that?
9.
Reduce it by 3.
So do I have to manually reduce it by 3?
So just call it a 6.
Do I have to?
The assets don't allow you to add 3. That's easier just to reduce 3.
So I have to put the difficulty at 6.
Yeah.
This is my first time using it, so, and I'm spending 2 effort on that. And I don't have any assets. Sun's ambush, practice an armor, dominion, rapid recovery, yeah, no assets. 15.
Wow, you hit the number again on the dot. Oh no, you need to beat a 12. Sorry. So yes, you beat the target number of 12. And what does this look like? How do you get back? How do you pull him out?
I imagine as she holding this chain and she just yanks with all her strength, and maybe her nimbus might flare a little bit, or if it doesn't flare in this realm that she's in, she like feels it like pulsing above her head, and then Korax like probably a little bit more violently than she would have liked for him. He just gets pulled back like that, and then she catches him, and then they tumble backwards onto the Samoran's cobbled street.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you yank him and you both fall backwards.
Mm-hmm.
As Antares pulls and the Rakshas's queen changes from anger to shock, Korax just has a huge smile on his face, regardless of the pain being caused by Antares. And he just stares at the Rakshasa queen as he gets pulled back out.
Bye.
Okay. I love that for you. Cool. So you
I know it's gonna cause me problems, but do it anyway.
Yeah, for sure. You'll be fine. So the two of you get pulled backwards with that same level of force, and Antares, your shoulder and elbow hit the cobblestone near the wall. As you still holding him in the position you were in reality, and you just toppled backwards. But you toppled backwards with the force of that yank. And you see the color drain back into his face, or come back into his face, and his eyes sort of flip around the right way as he slowly reawakens from whatever comatose-like state he was just in. What are you?
And she's like breathing. She's breathing heavily. You okay?
For now, that's gonna go poorly.
Does that happen often?
Once or twice. She was angry that I was taking too long to kill people.
Yeah, I
read
it's
a war. Book. Yeah, now she's pissed.
She helps him up.
He definitely accepts. She doesn't like what you've just done.
Well, fuck you, Mike. Oh, Jesus. Well, had to do something. I didn't know what happened. You were just spasming out on the ground here.
Yeah, it was inconvenient.
And was that supposed to happen? Like, and he can hear the screaming now of everyone panicking.
They're in the city.
Yeah. Well, the
He
city's
dusts himself
panicking.
off.
No.
Yeah, yeah.
Your
Korax just says they're in
dragon.
the city.
No,
What?
not yet. But the dragon scared the shit out of them.
Oh yeah. No, that wasn't meant to scare them. That was people outside. And he looks out the gate. Are they running at the gate, Mike?
Yeah, like what are they doing?
They are not running at the gate. They you have seen that the forward line has retreated back from the gate. And there is panic in the city streets.
Okay. Well, Seydlitz made it away safely, as far as I know. If he's dead now, I'm assuming we might know. I don't know.
Korax would know if he's dead. He would have
Okay.
get a searing pain about new knowledge being created that a god has died.
I mean, I haven't noticed anything, but then again, I don't know if I would if I was in, a future
Well,
home.
let's not go back there for a very long time, okay?
I don't choose it. She just goes, "You're coming to me," and she somehow makes me go there.
All right. Well, we should go see if Seydlitz came back. I don't know.
Well, we've hopefully got time. They've at least left the gates.
Oh, and she's like, I need to find Captain Hargan. I don't know.
Where
What
did you tell him to go?
he's out doing Knights of Redemption stuff. Would I know where he is? Roughly.
Sure.
Okay.
You're essentially his commanding officer now.
Yeah.
So where did you send him?
Well, they were just because technically our little ceremony that we had was not too long ago. So, the barracks, I guess, where they'd be staying.
Sure. Yeah. Then that's where he'd be. He's either there at the castle, one of the two.
You get to run.
I mean, it doesn't do much other than potentially kill me.
Perfect. Let's go. And she runs.
Okay. Where are you running? The barracks or the
behind.
castle?
The place where she would find him.
Okay. So yeah, you run to the barracks. You make your way through the city. Again, the city is in some level of panic. The dragon that Korax made was similar enough to the dragon that was overhead before the favored attack, and so people have associated that same symbol with an attack. So there is a level of panic here. There are guards in the street trying to pacify things. You see that there are Knights of Redemption that are doing the same thing, trying to like quell the crowds. And you make your way to the the barracks of redemption. And
Jesus.
Barracks
know what they did.
Yeah. You make your way to the barracks and into the door where you see Darian is coordinating groups of people around the city.
Okay. Is Korax with her?
Yeah, I mean, a minute or so later, he catches up, breathing heavy and sweaty.
Okay. And so she's gonna come in. She's not like panicked or anything like that because they're not actually attacking yet, but she'll come in, go, Captain Hargan.
He turns to you, not expecting you, and you see him like there's a strange moment of like he sort of goes to like snap to attention, but then also goes to kneel, and he's not sure what to do in this situation. It's very awkward, and he settles on a very stiff kneel. So he's down on one knee with like his elbow on his knee in a sort of a kneel bow thing. It's a very awkward.
Yeah, and she walks up to him and goes, I feel like the whole kneeling thing was the reconciliator portion of our lives. And she will motion for him to stand.
He stands and he says, I apologize.
She
there's
smiles.
a level of you're
I know.
my superior officer, but you're also a literal god made flesh. So I assumed some reverence would be in order.
Yeah, maybe, but I'm not like I might be a god, but I'm not going to be a god about it. Okay.
I'm like a cool mom.
Yeah. It's like I feel like the old Antares would have reveled in that. So I don't think I should. And so going forward, can you and your men please not kneel?
I will inform the troops. Is what can I do for you? Is there something you need?
Yes, there is a reason why I'm here, and I would like a couple of your best troops. Um, uh, I have a mission of protection. I need you to go on for me. And there's a friend of mine who lives at the Adherence Temple. His name is Dreshen.
We're aware of him.
Yeah. Well, I would like you to send 2 of your best men to protect him during the siege when the fight actually starts.
Is not to question you. Is he a person of note? Is there something? Is he?
Yes, he's my friend. He helped shape the person I am now.
Would it, would it be more beneficial if he brought him to the castle?
Maybe. I'm not sure what role he's going to be performing in this upcoming battle. I haven't seen him in a few weeks. And she kind of looks him up and down. Because the Reconciliators wore a red cape
Mm-hmm.
with their things. Like
Mhm.
maybe we should lose the cape.
You see him unclasp the because it's like a side cape, like a side and back cape. You see him unclasp it and he pulls the cape down. The chain sort of clatters around, and he tosses it onto a nearby desk. He says, "I will inform the troops of this as well. Is there anything else you require from us?"
No, just that. If you feel like the keep would be safer, please note that to him. And depending on what his duties are supposed to be, I will let you guys make the best informed decision. And when you go there, if he's unsure about who sent you, just tell him Antares has drawn a line in the sand, and we're here to protect you.
I will have 2 of my best men on this immediately. Let me coordinate this attack, or coordinate the troops I have in current. I will grab 2 of my men. They will head to the Adherence Temple, and we'll protect this man.
She smiles and she pats him on the pauldron. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Anything. And there's a second where you feel like he's about to kneel, and he stops and sort of salutes because he doesn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
The
salute is okay.
This is a first for him. So he salutes and he turns back to this board that you see him have that he has a map of the city on it. And he walks over to a few more people, and you see them conversing, and they run off to presumably go grab some people for this mission you sent him on. Where are you headed after this mission?
When she leaves, Korax ambles up.
Yeah.
Why do you have to run so fast? I don't need to run that fast.
It's just my normal pace, my guy. Come on.
You people when you're running. We ready?
Do we know where we knew where Seydlitz was supposed to be returning to?
I don't think you did.
Okay. Where would Seydlitz return to?
You don't know. So your best guess is the castle.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We'll return to the castle.
Okay, so Antares takes off running again. Korax has mere seconds.
She'll slow down.
And Antares walks at a human pace. Korax still lags behind. And he's got tiny muscles. Together you make your way towards the castle, where you see the castle guards are again trying to placate masses who have like crowded here, complaining about this or in terror about this dragon situation. And you see that the castle itself is in a bit of confusion, where there are guards kind of moving around. You see Faxus Rama of the city guard is here, and Paolo Barbaro of the Red Serenity, one of the other like mercenary guilds, is here. They're talking back and forth, and they see you in turn, and they just point to the war room, and they look to you see Faxus Rama looks to you and says, "He's in there," and just sort of they go back to their conversation. Discussing whatever they're doing.
Awesome. Sweet. Okay, she's like, great. Okay, come on, Korax. Now she's gonna start jogging.
Okay, I'm coming. And he just trots up behind as quick as he can.
Okay. You see, the door bursts open. You see that Mina is there. You see that Seydlitz is there, looking, albeit a little bit sweaty, and maybe slightly, out of sorts. There's a scattering of paper, partly on the floor, a lot on the war table. It just looks very piecemealed, and you see Queen Atane is there, and she's trying to smooth out some papers and some pieces of maps. And you see that, like, whatever Seydlitz has was, like, this pieces torn out of it. You can see that there are, like, something gets picked up and you see pinholes poked in the side of it. You see like half missives. You see like coded things. It looks like a sort of smash and grab thing here, as this is getting laid out on the table. You walk into the conversation, and the queen is speaking to Seydlitz. So you come in like halfway through a sentence, and she says, "Perfect. This is exactly what. This is more or less what we needed. This is clearly a map of and this pins, and you see like a Castellan sort of come out with like a box of pins. She sort of scatters them on, and she begins to slowly put pins in holes that are pre-existing. Was there any context to this? Did you see anything else in here?
It was too quick, ma'am. It's just there were too many enemies to deal with, so I had to just grab it and go.
That's fine. We can work with this. This is more than I could have hoped for. I expected a single note. You've come back with fragments of many, but nonetheless, this should get us far more information than we currently have. And then the two of you sort of walk into the ass end of that conversation. Please come. And she motions you to the table, and you see all of the things that Seydlitz has. Which looks like exactly what he did, which was he scooped a bunch of stuff and teleported away. And so some of it is in pieces, some of it, like the pins fell out of the map, some of the notes are torn. It looks like a very hasty exit.
Mm-hmm. If I recall correctly, he also like released their beasts of burden or something like that.
Something like
right?
that. I do believe he caused some chaos in the camp.
Yeah. Pretty sure.
Yes, I caused a bit of chaos with the horses running off.
Yeah.
So she will approach the table and is like, glad you made it out. Everything worked out okay?
Not as well as I wished.
Well, clearly you got something.
It's definitely something, if you call half of a torn map with no context something.
So there's pinholes, but there's no markers, right?
She's beginning to put markers into the holes so that you can actually see them better, but there's no indication of what those markers are.
Yeah. Like, okay. So can Seydlitz tell us how many types of markers there were
Uh,
to denote like troop move, like different types of troop movements?
Not at the speed in which he came in. He basically burst into the room, scooped everything up, and then teleported out of the room. Like, think Nightcrawler from X-Men. So even he barely had time to look at what was on
Other
the map.
than the physical evidence, the only thing they did mention something about heavy equipment, but I didn't hear where they were going to put that. But they are bringing in what I could assume is catapults, trebuchets, what have you.
Shoot. Shit. She glances at Korax.
Korax is staring at the maps. And he walks over to a corner where they had their own maps. Because Korax had maps of tunnels into the city and all that sort of stuff that he had found before.
Yep.
And he brings the two side by side and starts to see if he can find any patterns on where the pins were to the weak points that he knew about. Does anything correlate?
Interesting. Roll me an intelligence difficulty 6 with 1 asset for prep work.
Intelligence 6. I'm going to apply effort to that. 1 asset. Anything that helps. Is there any true motives? That's people. Nope. That'll be everything. Success.
Cool. You begin to overlay this. You note that there is a flag. So there are the pins, essentially. There are pins in what you know. So what he has is a zoomed in topographical map, right? It doesn't have the details of the city as such, but it has the city itself marked there. So you know his picture isn't that far out. What you have is much closer in and to the city itself. So you have like streets and buildings on your map where he does not. You know that like comparing the pin locations, there are 3 pins within the city limits. There is one in the Temple District. There is one on the castle, and there is one in like the northwestern side of the map. And as you compare these based on where they are on his map versus your map, where they are in the northwestern district is like a local cemetery. Where they are in the Temple District are remains of pre-fall cemetery, and then there's one on the castle, which, given the context and your success, there is a crypt under the castle. That's the only thing that would be in common between these 3 places.
As everyone else is doing whatever they're doing, he just stops and says, these 3, and he points them out. Cemetery, cemetery, crypt.
She furrows her brow and she leans over. Are you telling me Mina was correct?
No, I'm saying that there's pins on the cemeteries.
Okay, but why?
It's an army of the undead. Isn't that a bit cliche?
I don't want Mina to be
they're
right.
reanimated, which is slightly different, but
They're basing their stuff in cemeteries.
But
Well,
they can't. Can they bring dead people back to life? Like long dead people? Because that's what Mina was talking about before, and everyone shut him down.
Well,
spare parts? Like, say one of them loses an arm, they could dig up a dead person and take theirs?
Mm,
You guys can
Can I-
imagine a cardboard cutout of Mina looking very aghast at this situation, and also vindicated that he was right. He just
Yeah.
exists in there.
We just
um,
have the ghost of Mina just standing there like in spirit mode.
Yeah, it's like when
I-
you're watching a play, and one of the scene dressers comes off stage with and they're in all black. They just run out and they put a new cardboard face on, and they run back out. And so every time Mina disproves, they just change the face to a new face.
it's just Norm's face grimacing.
Yeah.
Can I? I've dealt with in Antari's past. She's dealt with Jaseth before, and can I roll an intellect?
How old is Antares?
20, like between 25 and 30.
Okay. Okay.
Well, that's true. I assumed that.
He's been deposed for some years now.
Okay,
I think
okay.
it's like 7 years. I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. So
but
that's fine.
it is reasonable that you could have. You would have been in your early 20s to late teens, so it is possible. But
okay, so I just want to know, does he have any kind of MO for doing this? I'm just trying to reach here for any information she might know.
no need to roll. No. But also the last time you knew him, he was also alive, and not a reanimated. He was a man. He was just a regular man.
Okay, so that didn't even cross my mind that he could also be undead now.
Yeah.
And she will say that out loud. What about she looks back at Korax. What about a means of teleporting into the city or something? Maybe not animating the corpses, but some kind of spell focus.
Possibly. Question, Mike.
Yes.
Previously, when Mina came up with his crazy plan of we're going to raise the dead,
Yep.
and everyone laughed at him. Korax knew that idea was not possible from I think from a roll.
Yep.
So
Is it safe to assume that they cannot use that the process of becoming reanimated requires the person to be alive to start with? Would he know that from that?
You would
knowledge?
know that. Well, I'll say this. You would know that the process of becoming reanimated, capital R, requires you to die in the process.
Okay.
Not to be already dead. Does that answer your question?
That does, yeah.
Great.
It could be possible that no one's going to be monitoring cemeteries. No one's going to watch a cemetery. No guards, no security is going to be there. And the same way Seydlitz returned here with the amulet thing, that they could bring a small military unit, whatever they are, he looks to Antares and Seydlitz, and land them in the cemeteries and the crypt.
or they can't make reanimated people like Chrysertians, right? But what about mindless drones? How big are these cemeteries? And she'll look at Attain.
They are quite sizable. This one, she points to the northwestern corner, is a common cemetery for most people outside of their familial plots at their homes, if they have them. And this one here is, as far as I know, disused in the last 40 years, unless people have just buried loved ones in accordance with. I know the adherents probably use that, but at a time they were fairly large. Each of these temples had its own, and the crypt here, though fairly small, does go back quite a bit of time. So there would be ancient crypts, ancient tombs beneath us.
Do we know of necromancy being an actual thing? Apart
Um,
from what happens in Christchurch?
So
Would Corax know? Is
yeah,
really the
that's what
question.
I'm trying to context here. You would know that it is possible. It is not probable. It is one of those things that's like, um, even even in Corso, it's not nice. It's sort of like
Standard
not
stuff.
not even bad guy etiquette to do. When you have the option to just willingly do this. So even in Corso, like Antares would you would have never seen it happen. Even
Like,
that
why
is something you would do it on the down low.
why resort to necromancy when slavery is legal?
Yeah, exactly. You can already take people against their will. So taking
extra
corpses
effort.
doesn't. It's not a.
But would Corax have read anything in this library of things that pre-fall? So back when the gods were still around.
Oh yeah, it's possible. It is absolutely a thing that is possible. And there were gods of death that had say over this, and they're dead. So who's to say? You know for a fact that there are warring factions in Soul Rest, because you're part of one of them technically. So there is limited control at best over the souls. In a world where the gods have died, no one can stop you from doing, other than social conventions can stop you from doing necromancy.
And would the necromancy require the soul to be outside of soul rest?
I need a roll. I need a
What role do you like, Mike?
difficulty 9 intellect roll.
Why don't you just go back to her and ask?
Ask your girlfriend.
Can't ask
By
her
the-
now. I mean,
by the
tell her she
way-
took him away.
Question.
Yeah, just Corax just pops in, just like one more question.
It says, excuse me, could you
Do I have anything that can help here, Mike? I can't use my divine shifts because they're in a book.
Oh yeah. Knowledge of godly beings would help. I
guess the only one.
Yeah, I think that might be the only one.
Okay. T9. I get to a 6.
Ooh.
Nope, fail.
You can spend XP.
I only got 1 XP, Mike. I'm gonna save that.
That's a damn shame, my guy. What a tragedy. So yeah, you think back on everything you've read, and you know there has to be some sort of complication. It can't be that easy. But as far as you know, you don't. That's the thing, is you don't know. It's one of those things that's like, it's such a faux pas, that like it wouldn't have crossed your mind to research necromancy, because no one in their right mind would even stoop that low.
Would Jaseth stoop that low?
It depends on what the reanimation process did to the guy and how bad he wants his city back. And if your mother has poisoned his mind, if she's allied with him and sort of pushed his hand into this. Yeah.
Well,
Corax is going to make an assumption then that in order to reanimate, a soul's going to be required. He doesn't know. And he looks to attain, of these cemeteries, which ones are used post-fall? And I include the crypt in that.
We haven't had a royal death in my reign. This one, and she points to the northwest, is I don't want to say constantly used, but it is the most that's the most common cemetery here. The adherents use this one, and anyone else who still clings to the and she kind of looks at all of you and says the old ways, and they may be buried there. we don't hold ceremonies for that, so it'd be a much smaller group.
The crypt I'm less worried about then. I may go and do some rites almost for the others. I don't know, but I imagine they're going to need a soul. And if the souls have not gone to soul rest, at least I can send them there
It might be
as
worth.
best I can.
It might be worth posting guards here.
She motions to one of her attendants. You see the attendant sort of run out and shout something into the hallway. And you see Faxus Rama come in, and the queen looks to him and she says, "Here, station guards. I need at least a platoon here at the Northwest Cemetery, here in the Temple District, and for safety's sake, a small squad here in the lower crypts." He nods to her, salutes, and he backs out of the room to go, assumingly, do that.
And speaking of Temple District, what is Vishaden's duty for the siege?
Are you asking me or are you asking the queen?
I'm asking the queen and you, as the one and the same.
Well, I have a lot more information than she does. She looks to you and she, there is a level of, like, I don't know, like, waiting for an I told you so, almost, like that level of, like, weird energy. And she says, I haven't seen him since the announcement. He has not deigned to join as one of our generals. He did say he would protect the city. On your word, I have made a declaration, and he has not made himself public since then. And given the rate of speed things have been taking off, I haven't had time to go find out myself.
Did you go see him in person?
I have not. Why?
Well, you were supposed to.
I was under the impression I was supposed to make a public announcement that he was the god of Samora.
Yes,
after he protected the city.
Well, sorry, perhaps I misunderstood. What was I supposed to do with him? Was I supposed to see him?
He wanted you to go see him in person to tell him that you were accepting the offer of declaring him being a god. He was tired of working through proxies and minions.
I understand. When our meeting is adjourned, I will go speak to him.
Okay. We can come with you if you need.
You have your hands full. I don't think it will be necessary. I have a retainer of guards. This is my city. I should be safe to walk through it. She says a little bit more forceful than she intended to. You see as the entire time you guys were conversing and planning about the cemeteries, she is popping more pins into the fragments of map that were stolen.
Seydlitz is looking at the various holes, and given the size of, like, the pins that she's putting of, like, all various sizes and thicknesses, he's looking at some of these holes and seeing if you can find some that look like bigger than the rest, because say you want to place a pin that represents a bigger unit, you might have a bigger pin.
Interesting. Yeah,
like
sure.
a siege weapon or something.
Yeah. Usually we label the pins, but that bigger pins works fine. Are you trying to figure out? Are you just trying to find them, or are you trying to figure out what they could be?
Just trying to find them. Seems like, oh, this one might be something bigger than, like, your normal. Oh, say one pin represents a unit.
Yeah, you find a couple of, like, slightly larger than pinhole ones. Mostly scattered around the southern side of the city. More towards, like, the forest, kind of like where you were. You do see probably the largest pinhole is on the topography is on a hill. And so by default, being a hunter, that height gives you the advantage on range if this is a siege weapon of some kind or a weapon of some kind, having it at a higher vantage point gives it a clear line of sight, as well as a greater depth of field. So there's potentially a siege weapon on a hill to the southeast. Not so far as to
ma'am.
hit your forest, but
My lady, this hill here, is this location significant?
it's a small ruin, I believe. Nothing that I'm aware of. There was a small, like not even a keep, I would say. It's larger than a tower, smaller than a keep. A small fort, I guess, used to be there. 40
And the
pre-fall.
terrain is higher than the rest of them?
It
I'm
is.
willing to bet this is where they're going to store their siege weapons.
She writes something down and sticks it in that spot, denoting that there are siege weapons here. Do we know
Either that or this might be where our favored might be, but I'm not willing to bet they're going to label those.
if they are in fact working together? It could be two separate attacks, one from the dragon and one from the deposed king. Okay, this is marked. This is potential siege. The God save us. The necromancy potential here. I have marked. And Terry's. Are you also looking at this map as well? Roll me a intellect 5, difficulty 5 intellect. Knowledge of Corso bullshit might help you here. Do you have any skills for that? You're muted.
Just reconciliators.
I'll say that helps.
Okay. Difficulty 5.
Also, an asset for growing up and living in Corso under the dragon.
I'll take that. I'll take that as an argument.
I'll spend 1 effort. And then I'm probably going to have to do a recovery roll. Success.
You'll be fine. You look at this and you know, Samora is not your strong suit. This is not where you did a lot of your fighting. But you look at the scattered paperwork here. You recognize something, but are unable to actually read it. You see a coded missive on the table. You recognize the code, as in you've seen it before, but you don't have the key, so you can't translate it. However, what you do know is that this code was only ever used by either your mother or a representative of her court or a representative of the knights to deliver to a very specific group. The very specific group was actually out of Christchurch. They are a group of highly skilled, highly trained assassins called the Tranquil. So Jaseth has communications with the most elite assassin network in the Afterworld.
Yeah, as she's scanning, she stops and she moves her hand to this notation. The Tranquil.
As soon as you say that, the queen looks to you like with the first time you've seen actual fear.
And she looks up at her. This code. I've seen it before. I think he has a detachment of the Tranquil with him. And she glances at Korax and Seydlitz.
Korax, you would know of the Tranquil as well, based on the amount of reading you've done. The Tranquil were like straight up death assassins. Like they were a cult that worshipped the three judges. So like the original guardians of hell. They worship them, and they are the most lethal group of assassins in even before the fall.
Or actually just looked at Antares. She says it.
This isn't good. So what you said about this thing, like I know what it's about, but I don't know what it says. Correct?
You've seen that code used before in reference to the Tranquil, like that's how they would communicate, but you were never in charge of writing or translating the code, so you don't, out of memory, you can't translate it. You would need to have whatever the key is, which clearly you don't have.
Yeah. Would Hargan have it? One of the other reconciliators have it.
You don't think so? Usually it was like Nulumriel would write it and give it to somebody, and that's where you've seen it in passing, either from someone in her court or from one of the reconciliators to deliver to Chryserich.
All right.
Oryx looks to Etain. He says, you may want to take a few more guards with you if you're going to go and visit Shaden.
Are the Tranquil undead too? Or reanimated, whatever their thing is?
It is hard to tell. Rumor has it for Antares that the leader of the Tranquil is over 1,000 years old.
Jesus.
Whether that means he is reanimated or something else, you're not sure.
Does he have a name or a nomiker?
He does. You would know him by his nom de plume. He is the Knife. Sometimes called the Tranquil Knife, but most commonly the Knife. You may also have heard him referred to as the Grand Assassin.
Borax looks to Seydlitz. If you don't know, they're assassins. Like
the best.
The assassins.
We're good at killing
there'd
people.
Be assassins anyway.
But they're even better.
If they're the best of the best.
So, this is just for a little bit of more flavor context for me. Are they based out of Chryserich?
They are.
Okay. But they're like independent. Like they're not an what do you call it? Like a unit of the
No. Nope.
Basis, right?
No.
Okay. They're like their own guild or whatever.
No, they're not the only assassins in town. In the Afterworld. You know by the amount of stars you saw change hand. They are very expensive. They are very expensive because they are very much worth their money.
Yeah. So so someone is paying a lot of money. Is there like a base amount? Like I give you I'll just use a number like 500 stars per soldier, or is like I give you 500 stars and I get 10 or something like that? Like is there a payment plan or package?
So I'll give you this. This isn't really something that Antares would know. But since you specifically asked the question, the minimum is about 200 stars per level of the creature. So if it's a 9th level creature, it's 900. It's 9 times 200 stars, which is quite a bit of money. Seeing as how stars are the most expensive currency. You also know And Korax, I think you would know this as well, but yours would be unsubstantiated. There are rumors that there is a base price for killing somebody, and there's a separate price for killing somebody and also destroying their soul.
Okay, I think a final question for these dudes: do they have any kind of professional standards?
In that, like, will they not kill kids?
Yeah, or like, do they have any kind of weird code? Like, if you screw them over, are they gonna come fuck you up or something like that?
You do know that if they have a um you can't contract them to kill an existing contract. So if somebody has hired them, you can't then hire them to kill that somebody, right? So like, let's say Jason hired them to kill the queen. You can't then hire them to kill Jason. They will not work on an existing contract until that contract is ended. Once the queen is dead, then you can hire them to kill Jason. But once a current contract is out, they will not be hired to attack anyone they are under contract with.
So they're professionals.
They are professionals.
I
Yeah.
think there should be one more question. Do they have a calling card? Like, a lot of it, you can point at this assassination or another and point is like, oh, that was them.
Yeah. that's like or calling card or
Like a certain method.
sign. Yeah.
Yes. They have a calling card in that they don't. If someone is murdered and there are no signs of anything, there's no evidence to whom, how, who, what, you can assume it was them. Other people are sloppy. They are not. It is said that even reanimated die under the blade, under the tranquil blade. Which it is difficult to get a reanimated to have the forever death.
Okay. Shit. And then Terry's kind of sits back. I don't even know what we freaking do with this information.
Can
you tell who wrote that?
You can tell it wasn't Nilumriel. You know your mother's handwriting, and that's not it.
She runs her hand over it like, it's not her. I know that.
I would take, and this might be a bit of a speculation, but honestly, I don't think this might be for the queen either, because if Joseph wants to return, wouldn't he want to do that himself?
He's not really a prideful man. He'll take an opportunity if it comes to him.
I was more worried that it was Nilumriel trying to kill me.
It could be all of us except Terry's here, or it could be for Vishaden because of that God announcement.
But does Jason really care about us? I know Nilumriel does.
Doesn't even know who you are.
I don't think it would be Joseph. My question is then, what would a message like this be doing in the hand of some random officer?
I mean, you broke into what you assume was a command tent of some kind. So you don't know what random officer or how high that officer was.
Did you see the people that you took these things from?
Vaguely.
For a second.
Did they look like people from Corso or reanimated?
You know that the commanding officer in that tent was absolutely somebody from Christchurch.
Oh, he was most definitely a reanimated blue skin. His arm was stitched on.
So, or for all we know, that was one of the Tranquil.
Then he was very sloppy if he didn't know I was detect my presence until the very end.
Do they work well with others?
They don't really need to.
But they're not going to sit in a group mess and like.
Yeah,
with
like
other people.
assassin's job is by its nature sort of a solo kind of
Yeah.
career.
Mhm.
But if that's what the job calls for, if the job calls for posing as, think like think like the no face man from Game of
Mhm.
Thrones, right? Like a man has no name, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
If he needs to pose as or if this assassin needs to pose as a Chryserian guard, great. If he needs to pose as a Samoran guard, sure.
Okay, so they're not so like arrogant and cocky that they'll just walk up wearing their like
No,
their
no, no.
their
Yeah, you
mask or whatever and
no,
saying like, oh my god, it's them. Okay,
no. The point is that you never see them coming.
right,
You
right.
see Mina. The stagehand comes out and moves the cardboard cutout of Mina closer and
Raises
articulates
his hand.
articulates his one cardboard hand, and he he points.
We love you, Norm.
Oh man, I want that. Somebody make me a cardboard cutout of Mina. You see him point towards an area, one of the few actually, north of Samora. And as you didn't even notice it because the majority of the army is south. They are wrapping around the city. But you see where he points is adjacent to the river that runs down from the mouth of winter, cuts through the krakens, and empties out into the Sea of Shadows. It is the only pin along the river, and you know that the river that runs down is the primary water source of Samora. It is built near the edge, but not on the actual river itself. He points to it, and it is not a small pin, but it is one of the medium-sized pins, referencing what could this be?
Seydlitz, what do you make of this?
Well, if I was of any tactical mind, what is the first thing? What is one thing that helps break a siege? Is cutting off the water source. And obviously, big pins don't always mean heavy artillery. It could just mean a base camp of some sort. Or they could be poisoning the water supply, for all I know. Your best bet is to get someone out there to go see.
Is the river big enough to travel on?
In parts, yes. It becomes incredibly difficult to travel through the krakens. But yeah, there are large parts. Like there are. I mean, there's not really many logging camps and towns in the RuneScape. Really, not many people are building things these days. But at one time, there used to be trade down the river mostly. So like barges or logs or that kind of thing. It's not really like a traveling river.
Well, Samora is the only place that I've been on this side of the mountains. So what else is over there?
You look, say, let's at the terrain. There is no hills in here. In fact, there's a little bit of a depression near that area. It is close to Kaskin territory, which you know are Nafar, so like goblins and trolls. It is close to that area. So if there was to be a camp there, it would have to be well defended in case of incursions from the Nafar. But as far as you know, there's no actually, you know what? Roll me let me see. Roll me. It's gonna be an intellect. But I want to see if I can make it more specific to you. Roll me an intellect. Difficulty is gonna be 6. I'll take do you have an inability in oh no, you're trained. I'll take eye for detail and identifying or assessing danger.
Are you asking me or in Terry's?
You, Seydlitz. So it's a difficulty 6 intellect, and you have 2 assets. One for sense ambush, and one for eye for detail, and one for identify and assess danger.
I just pointed towards you because you are the nature boy.
With 2 assets. All right. Well, I'm rolling with eye for detail then.
Okay, so it's eye for detail and 1 asset.
You're going 6, 1 asset. Throw some effort at it because might
Hell
as
yeah.
well.
You look at this and you see a little bit of a depression in the area, and you're trying to think about this area. It's not an area that you hunt in, so you're not incredibly familiar with the area. And then it dawns on you, you're not familiar with the area, but that's the problem. You're not familiar with the area because it's such bad hunting, because there's something wrong with that area. There is some sort of malaise around that area that is animals just don't go there. Why? You don't know. But animals don't travel there, and that's roughly where the pin is.
Well, it just came to me, but because it's kind of an odd thing, really, when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
No life is there. You might see grass and trees and all that stuff, but you won't see creatures of any kind go there. The area is kind of a dead zone, as you would put. So it's odd that there'd be anything there. Honestly, if we could get some, if it'd be nice to get some scouts out.
That might be difficult. That dragon spell seemed to have got their attention, but now they
Well, we
seem to
have
be
a map
little
of
more-
where they're mostly grouped, so we could probably find the gaps here to send some people out this time.
maybe. And she looks at Attain, like, you're
You're muted.
muted.
I sure am. We have limited people that we can send. I can speak with one of the mercenary captains, see if they have anyone they can spare. But anyone going outside the wall is at risk of never returning. We have true positions now, but they could shift. It's only a matter of time before the fact that this information was stolen disseminates through their ranks. If you tell me we need scouts, then I will send scouts.
What about
Even
the
if you have to
tunnels?
just post lookouts on the walls, anything works.
We have the city guard is posted on the walls. Faxis Rama has been in charge of that, and I know Mina has been working with them day and night on top of his own unit of troops. We do have we do have the Red Jackals. We do have the Red Serenity, the High Shroud, and the Vigorous Jackals that are still left to our disposal. I know you have the Knights of Redemption, but there is only a handful of them. There's I think somewhere in
35.
around 20. So anyone we send out, as I said, is at risk of never returning.
Korax looks to
Only
Antares.
if we had a mage that could like share vision with a trained bird or something.
Hmm.
Korax looks to Antares. As a military person, if your plans, any points to everything on the table, were stolen, how long would it take for you to change them? Or adjust what they've stolen and no longer be valid?
Not long.
Well, first, I believe it would take. First, they'd have to figure out what was stolen and what is
you
known,
care?
and then reorganize the stuff. Do you think they outnumber us like crazy? I don't even know if they would care.
Yeah, but would they care what's stolen, or would they just change? Adjust troops, move people. That camp that they're talking about, would they not just move that a little bit further up the river, make it more of a pain to
If it
find?
was vital to their plans, they may not be able to change it.
Yeah, such as the
True.
cemeteries, the hill has the vantage point of the city. We can't really do anything about the tranquil because they could be anywhere. And if what Seydlitz says is true, that spot was chosen for a reason.
But at the same time, where they've placed troops around the city, where all these other pins are that are surrounding the city, they're going to change
Those
those
will
gaps.
inevitably adjust
Yeah.
along with
So
their
any
base camps.
scouts either need
But
to
that
leave
would still
right this
take
minute,
time.
send runners. I mean, if it was me,
Honestly, at this point, it might be best if they're adjusting. It might be best to send harassing attacks. They're already in a bit of disarray. Maybe cause them to go in panic.
Did they
No, I don't think-
steal the things?
Yes.
Hmm. And how long has it been since that has happened, approximately?
Maybe 30 minutes.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Like you got to the castle as Seydlitz was like appearing and spreading paperwork out and meeting with the queen. And that was maybe 10 minutes after he teleported into the castle. And you guys have been talking here for probably like 20 minutes.
Okay. Well, we're not getting any kind of notification from the walls saying that whatever Seydlitz did has pushed up their timetable and they're not moving. You do have a point, Corax, but I can't answer your question.
Information is a time game, so we might as well take advantage of what we have now.
Mm-hmm.
See if we can get someone out here. And he points at the map to where that one odd spot to the north is. See if we can get anyone out here to see what's going on. They don't have to engage or anything like that. Just find out what's going on out there.
Can someone get out through the tunnels and past the troops?
Per Corax, the tunnels are manned at all times, and some of them are blocked. You do know that Jaseth knows of the tunnels, because he was also royalty here. So whether he's monitoring the tunnels as a constant thing, you're not sure. But
Okay.
they could get out.
Well,
Maybe we should personally go with them. Like, at least to as far as the end of the tunnel if we're going to try to go out that way.
the other problem is them getting information back.
yeah.
Corax looks to Antares. Sometimes prayers get through.
Sometimes.
They can always pray to me.
But there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to get the information that they have.
No, but if there's
Yeah.
something going on there, and we don't, like, this person goes and sees and goes, okay, great, and then dies on the way back, then you might as well not have sent anyone.
That is true. So you mean like if something is there, say a prayer to let us know
And
that
hope.
yes, there's something there.
Yeah, and then don't try and re-enter the city because that's just a death sentence for them.
I don't know. Us knowing that something's there doesn't really help if we're not there to stop it.
Well, we have a number of issues that we need to deal with.
I know. But we still have other troops that we can divvy up.
I mean, we can't be in 4 places at once.
My
Well,
favorite part about
we already send Captain Rama to deal with the cemeteries.
My favorite part about all this is, as the GM, I know that G is struggling with both what to choose, but also the fact that she knows I'm going to make a one-shot for one of the other ones she doesn't choose.
Oh,
And
we
she
all
can't
know
be in
that
it.
one.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
she
Well, we
is,
all
I
know
can't
that
do
one,
it.
so
yeah, but
it's just
she
like,
hates it. She is terrified of some other group fucking up the war.
oh, we know they're gonna probably screw it up. That's not a terrified if. It's just deal with it.
There's real stakes
Has-
at risk here.
Has Captain Rama left to deal with the cemeteries?
Yeah. Yeah, she called him in. He was given information and he left immediately.
Do we?
Corax was going to give him the right prayers so that he could send everyone to the Roxasha Queen.
Trying to earn some favor.
Yep.
Jesus.
Some time.
Do we have siege weapons or anything like that?
Do you have no?
No,
Well,
we don't.
Do we have people that can build them?
So the only defense you have other than bodies is Korax basically made Greek fire. So he made liquid fire to dump on people who who actually begin to climb the walls.
So we don't have any way of catapulting that fire a long distance.
Correct. Yeah, the city was not ready for a siege and was not equipped. And like normally, you don't have siege equipment inside the city. Usually, you have it outside the city walls, attacking the incoming. Sometimes you have
could have asked for it to be made.
That's true. He could have, but he didn't. You could have had like ballistas on the walls, but that didn't happen either. Listen, I left the defense of the city entirely up to you guys. So
doesn't mean we can't build them now.
That's true. You can start. You can start to see whatever spare parts they have. They can break down wagons and use that as parts. You can commission these now. It will take time, whether it is done before an attack happens or whether it's done in time to be of assistance. That's a different story.
I'm just thinking of a way to deal with the potential siege weapons on the hill. If we could fire some of that bale fire, as you were calling it, I believe, over there to light their shit on fire, that could be a good way to take them out.
I'll say this, not to put in a hard no in here. Whatever that hill is, that siege hill, is higher than where you are. So the likelihood of you reaching it with a trebuchet is slim to none. That's why they're higher, so they can lob things into the city. Lobbing things out of the city and higher is higher and farther is a difficult shot.
True.
Let me see.
I agree. Yeah. I think Terrence just kind of sits back into one of the chairs with like a huff.
The queen looks to all of you and she says, our city guard is stretched thin. They are manning the walls. We have just restationed them to the cemeteries, the crypts, etc. We already have some in the tunnels. I believe they are taxed as far as we can spread them. As I said, we have the Red Serenity, the High Shroud, and the Vigorous Jackals. We can send some of them to one of these locations if that's what you require. The Knights, they are yours to command, Antares, but I would prefer they stay within the city limits in case the siege breaks out here. They break the line past our guard.
I agree.
And I will see this Fishaden tonight as soon as this is over, and I will discuss with him, whom I assume will also remain in the city in the event that the siege breaks. So you are far more strategist than I. I did not plan the coup so much, but let me know what you think needs to be done.
Who did plan it, by the way?
Someone who is long dead at this point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Given all the tactical information we have and the grand strategy here, honestly, the only real unknown is here in the north. We can assume the siege equipment are along this fort here on the hill, at least a good majority of it, and along the south line, along the forest, because there's natural cover there. They won't be out in the open for like archers. If you have my opinion, I say if we get involved as us, demigods and stuff, if we should head north to the unknown because that is what we have as little information about. And we could leave the knights, or Antares can bring them. I'll think that's up to her.
They'll stay
And
here.
we'll send the majority of the mercenaries to deal with the siege, or at least whatever who agrees to go to the siege equipment to deal with that. And then we leave the rest of the army to deal with defending the walls of the city.
I like that. What does the High Shroud do?
All of them, the Red Serenity, the High Shroud, the Vigorous Jackals, they
Mhm.
are all the same thing as the Wexijund Caravan Guards.
Oh, they're caravan guards?
They're all mercenaries.
Oh, mercenaries. Okay. Oh, you described one of the gentlemen who he looked kind of mage-ish, like he was a spellcaster.
I did.
Yeah, you did. He was kind of like, well, he had that vibe looking. He had like pale skin and like white eyes or something like that. And he just had the vibe of.
I don't think
someone
any
who-
of them were intentionally spellcasters.
Okay.
But there may be spellcasters in their employ, right? It's not,
Okay.
not everyone is. The Jund Caravan Guard were spear wielding, like mostly women,
Mm,
but that is not it's not like the Red Serenity are just sword wielders. Like it wasn't specific. So it's a group of mercenaries.
okay, that's fine.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag.
Okay.
While G thinks, Corax is writing down. He sits down at a table and he starts writing out the rights that he went through with the slave master all the way back on a piece of paper,
Mm-hmm.
and he folds that up and he hands it to one of the minions that are there and just says, "You need to get this to Captain Rama. This is what they need to run at the cemetery. Perform these rites." I don't know if it's going to work, but it'll help.
He nods to you, takes it out of it, and he beats feet out of there.
Where are we going? And he looks to Antares and Seydlitz.
If we use the tunnels, we can get past the majority of the forces. You've stationed
Corax flicks
troops
through the
down there.
papers.
Yeah, you've stationed troops down there. They can cover us. And out of everyone, we would have the best chance of getting back.
This tunnel's going to be your best bet. And he points to one of the points on the map. Coming out of here should be the best option. And it'll also put you behind the enemies once you've dealt with whatever's at the river.
She looks from the map up at him. You're not coming.
I'll happily stay where it's safe.
I'm sorry, I vetoed that decision.
Of him
There's a
staying
nice
behind
safe
or him
castle here.
coming.
Even if he's not good in combat, having one as him might be a good idea with us.
I agree, Corax. Let me to point out you're not the only god here anymore.
Oh, I'm fully aware it hurt like hell.
Sure. I don't think you should stay behind.
Oh, I never suggested I would. I will happily go with, but I was suggesting that I'm not going to be stabbing people.
We already know that.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be
But
behind.
when you
Mina will probably take lead, then me and Antares, and you'll be behind us.
Sounds good. Sounds safe. But I
If you
can
want
stay
my
here if you want me to.
full opinion on this whole thing, I don't think it should just be the four of us. But if the knights are needed here, then we can't take them, unless you
Getting-
want to, Antares.
I'd prefer if they stayed here.
Surely getting more than just us out of the city is going to be harder.
I agree.
The less people, the easier it is.
Yeah.
And I'm not the most not going to sneak very well. And
You
Mina,
are really small.
a bit more bumbly than I am.
If you ask me, I think we should act sooner than later. Because,
Before
as you said, they're going to
those change.
reshuffle with all this information. Before the maps change, or maybe we should do it while they're changing.
Well, my stuff's just down the hall, so I'm ready to go when you are.
Mina's cardboard cutout.
What do you think, Mina? And he looks at the cardboard cutout.
Another stagehand runs out and replaces it with a new cardboard cutout that looks like this.
Oh. She-
Norm's gonna have so much fun rewatching this.
they look to attain. What do you think, Your Majesty?
If this is the plan you think is best, I'm inclined to agree. We have an unknown here in the north. It is we potentially Jace's forces, but also the Nafar. It is a high likelihood of somebody not making it back, despite the fact that this other location here is behind enemy lines. It is quite dangerous. I believe we have everything within the city handled. I don't think there's anything we can do about the Tranquil. If they're already in the city, which they may very well be, all I can do is stay where I am. Who's to say one isn't already in the castle?
Make sure that the guards that look after you are the oldest, the ones that you've had with you the longest.
Fair point.
In theory, they should be the most trustworthy.
I will speak with the other mercenary guards, and we will assemble a team to send them towards the southern point. And she motions to the artillery, possible artillery.
And she's going to take a piece of paper and a quill or whatever. She's gonna mark down a copy of the cipher, and she's gonna hold it up to one of the aides.
The Tranquil Cypher?
Yeah, the Tranquil
Okay.
Cypher. And Hargan is a smart man, and he is a lot more experienced in this kind of thing. So she's just going to write it down, fold it up, pass it to the runner, and say, "Take this to Captain Hargan."
Again, he takes the paper and he's off.
Okay. At least so he knows.
If we're going to do this, we need to do it all at once. So maybe, Attain, when do you want to launch this as the queen?
If what you say is true and they are shifting troops, which I agree, I would do the same. The moment I figured out that things were different, unless the location itself is the importance of the pin, I would be shifting my plans to plan for a counteroffensive. Jaseth is not. He may be who he is, but he's not anything but stupid. I agree. The sooner the better.
She looks at Korax. Can we take some of that balefire with us?
Audible.
What are you thinking?
Well, if we're outside, if we're able to complete whatever this mission will have us do, maybe we can cause some extra carnage on our way back. And
If you ask me,
she taps the siege hill.
If you ask me, I was thinking maybe we should, if we're gonna do this, maybe us should leave first and proceed, get as far as we can unnoticed. And then if we succeed or fail, maybe give a signal sometimes for everybody else to do it. Or do we want to all attack at once?
Well, we need to
I-
get out before there's an attack.
Yes,
we need to
I
go.
agree. I think what we're doing should be independent of whatever happens here. Because there isn't much that they can do Oopsie, I totally changed my page. There we go. We essentially have to stay on the defensive here, right? We can't do anything about the tranquil until they make their move. We don't have the ability to target any siege weapons, and we don't know what they're doing with the cemeteries. So we have to wait for them to make a move.
Not us. Someone else.
Yes, we as in all of us. The good guys.
The longer we wait, the less likely it is we're going to get out of here.
Here's what I'm thinking then. Queen Attain, summon the generals.
She turns to her primary aide, the only person remaining in the room, and she nods to him, kind of waves her arm, passing your message along, and he too scurries out of the room. There's maybe 10 minutes goes by before the door is opened, and he begins announcing one by one the various generals. Paolo Barbaro of the Red Serenity, Kieran and Durley of the High Shroud, Sinwise Rider of the Vigorous Jackals, Captain Faxus Rama of the City Guard, and he pauses for a second, looks around the room, and then awkwardly reintroduces, Captain Darian Hargans of the Knights of Redemption, and then awkwardly looks around the room and reintroduces Mina Han of the Jund Caravan Guards.
Yeah.
All right, ladies
A
and
string
gentlemen.
gets pulled.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. As we and Seydlitz going to look at like an orderly. Orderly, what time is it right now?
He gives you the time.
What is the time?
I don't know. We don't have an in-world clock.
It's like dark. I know it's dark.
It's nighttime. It's not midnight, but it is dark.
Fine, I'm saying it's 11 o'clock.
Great.
All right, the time is currently 11 o'clock, and here I'm going to explain what we are all thinking. Now, if anyone wants to look at this new information we have on the table, please proceed to do so. I will give you about 2 minutes. And I'm going to let 2 minutes pass.
They look it over, trying to decipher whatever you have and discuss amongst themselves and hear feedback from you guys, then the time passes.
All right, we have 3 main targets, and we have one here in the north. We have the hill, the old fort in the south atop the hill, and we have, what is the third target? I actually missed it.
So you have the cemeteries, the northern river thing, the keep at the south, and the tranquil, the assassins.
So we have 4 targets.
Yeah.
And we have the various cemeteries which seem to have some significance, and we have also, according to this missive, thanks to Antares recognizing what it is, we have a potential threat of the Tranquils coming after us. I honestly don't know.
They all listen, nod in agreement.
What we are thinking is us 4, me, Antares, Corax, and Mina are going to the north. The area in the north seems very odd to us because as of that land is very dead. There's no wildlife there, but it's also the main area for our water source by the river. That is vital to us. So we're going there. We're going to figure out what's going to happen and see if we can protect one of the most vital things we have. I would like, and this suggestion to the mercs, I cannot order you around as much as this is on your own. If I could choose, I would like the mercenaries to go to the old fort because we believe that is where their siege equipment is going to be stationed. We want it destroyed.
There is a murmur back and forth between realistically the three mercenary guards. Darian does not engage in the back and forth, and instead he just turns to Antares. He looks to you, and there's he raises an eyebrow in a way that says, if you want me to go, just say the word. There's no argument, there's no question, there's no discussion. So he kind of raises an eyebrow to you of is this the task you're giving me? Or is this for them?
She shakes her head.
Okay. He stands there stoically and does not engage in their conversation. The only representative for the Jun Caravan Guard is Mina, and he also does not engage in that conversation with every intention to keep the guards here and reinforcing the city guard. So Sinwise, Kieran, and Paolo discuss back and forth about who is the best suited to do this. And then Sinwise is the first to respond, and he says, the three of us will take up the charge. We'll send a small group of our best together. We'll pool resources and send them south. We feel as though a mixing of the bloodline, so to speak, is our best chance at survival, given that we are crossing enemy lines.
So that's
I
Paulo?
appreciate it.
All of them are. So that was
Oh.
Sinwise who said it, but they are saying that all three of them are going to send representatives to form a group to head south. So members of the Red
appreciate it.
Serenity, High Shroud, and Vigorous Jackals are all going. Sorry, go ahead.
I appreciate it. It is in these times that we must work together, outside of self-interest. And that leaves what the idea is. With the other two targets, I don't know what we can do about the Tranquil. Honestly,
Has
they're
anyone
assassins,
had any
that's-
experience with them?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Does anyone have any experience dealing with the Tranquil?
All of them shake their head in the negative. None of us have. No one fights the Tranquil. You just find yourself dead one day.
Yeah, I know, and I know you said that Hargan wouldn't know what the thing is, but she would still show it to him just to see if he does.
Yeah, you already sent someone out to go show him, so presumably he has it on him because you copied it down.
Mm-hmm.
If you pull him aside and ask about it, he says, I have been stationed here for several years now, and fortunately or otherwise, I have not had the misfortune of dealing with the Tranquil. I will ask. New soldiers have come from Corso in recent months. I will ask to see if any of them have, but I personally have not. I'll see if I have any contacts left in
That's fine.
anywhere.
Thank you, Captain.
As for the cemeteries, we're gonna leave that to the city guard. And obviously the walls, and this is about all we got. What we do have now is we need to, if they're going to attack, we might as well strike them first and spoil it. So here within the next hour, me and the other fellow gods of mine are going to be departing through the catacombs, out the tunnels, to head north.
Understood. Should we coordinate our attack and we should leave to the south at the same time?
I would say hold off at least another hour.
The longer they delay, the less likely it is that they're going to get out.
But if we cause such a big ruckus, we might draw some forces north.
Do we
It
want
might
to
make it
cause a
easier for
ruckus?
them.
We don't want that though, Seydlitz.
We may not, but we may end up doing so. And we could draw forces north that can't go to south otherwise.
How and she leans forward because she had sat down. She leans forward in her chair and kind of like, and she looks at the three captains of the merc groups. I feel like we can leave that decision to you. When you feel is the best time for you to leave. We're all generals here. We can all make this decision.
I agree,
Correct.
but right now we do have time sensitive information. So it
Yeah, so
does
their
have to be
delay is
soon.
not good.
I know, but
I don't think they're going to reorganize in 3 hours.
I would.
Listen, we need
They
time.
wouldn't finish.
We need time to assemble our troops. We need time to discuss the plan. The four of you are here. The four of you are already going. it will take us some time to get ready. That will be as much of a delay as we will give. Myself, Paolo, and Kieran will all return to our respective headquarters. We'll gather a group together. We'll assemble the group together. We'll explain them the plan, and we will be ready at the South Gate or South Tunnel. And if you are gone by then, that is it. If you are not, then perhaps we leave first. But it will take us time to get our forces ready, armed,
Yes.
and prepared.
Okay.
We will be definitely leaving within the hour, so
I think that's acceptable, and we need you to make sure you're properly and adequately prepared. So at your earliest convenience. How about that? And she looks at the others. It's not going to do us any good if they're not prepared. And I'm not just sending them out there to be killed.
Corax just nods.
all right, now that we have that figured out, I am open to questions.
The three of them sort of look back and forth. Obviously, Darian has already had his orders, so he has no further input because his god didn't tell him to ask questions. And the other three look forward. Do we have any intel on what the artillery might be, what the siege weapons are, number of forces to the south? Is there an entrance point? Is there an I know that things are moving currently, but is there a chance we may not encounter troops on a certain route?
All we know and all the information we have is in front of you here. Where the artillery is just a guess because we don't actually know where they are, but we do. All these pins are where we believe their camps and troops are. Honestly, the hill could be a dud, but it's still an old fort on a high ground. That's still significant of a landmark to take.
Corax looks to attain. Do you care about what's on that hill?
As far as this,
No,
the ruins,
yes.
they're of no significance to. Not to sound jaded, but they're no significance to me.
Perfect. Corax slides over a piece of paper and starts to write. And he hands to one of the captains. See this alchemist? Give him this. He will give you some stuff. Burn everything on that hill. Burn it all. Doesn't matter what's there. Just burn it. If you can.
As for siege equipment, my guess is it. Let's just go with a guess of the most modern. It's probably trebuchets.
Kieran looks to you, Corax, the one you passed it to, and he says, what is this?
He will give you some containers. If you can, take them with you, set that on fire, and it'll burn most of the stuff, probably the rocks as well. Don't get under your skin.
I appreciate. I wouldn't think to. I appreciate your candor and assistance, but how big are these? Are they barrels? Are they small kegs? Or how? If they are large, they'll slow us down.
Tell them what you want. Take as much as you can bother carrying.
It's an accelerant for fire.
Fair. If it comes in small containers, then we will take smaller containers. If it comes in barrels, we will not take that. I will not risk slowing my troops down.
We will be taking some as well.
Understood. Thank you. And he tucks it into a pocket. Paolo, who has been relatively quiet this entire time, he kind of looks around, assesses the group, and he says, and mostly to the queen, and to what should we send our remaining forces? The city guard are stretched relatively thin. I see we have some knights, he says, and there's a little bit of a weird tone. We have a small force headed out south, a smaller force headed out to the north. Where do you want us positioned? In the city? Prepared to march outside the city? What best do you want us to do? And she looks back, sort of exasperated at this notion of like, I have to plan a war in 30 seconds. And she says, I want all forces sleeping in shifts. I would like whatever you feel is necessary. Half of your shift awake, half of your companies awake, half of them asleep, prepared at a moment's notice, in case there is something. There is nothing we can do about the tranquil at this moment. I will be under guard and under lock and key. We're not sure what is happening with cemeteries, but we need to be prepared in case anything does happen. And anything does happen with the siege equipment if you are not to be able to get there fast enough. Any sort of evacuation effort or general aid should one of our buildings be attacked at long range. Be on call at a moment's notice. If that shifts, I will have all of you back here. Hell, all of you back here every 6 hours, unless I call for you sooner, and we can reassess plans until these 4 return. And she motions the 4 of you. The guards, the guard captains all look at each other. They kind of give a nod to Hargens. They look at you, is there anything else?
And Terry looks contemplative for a moment. Your Majesty, do you have your own spy masters that you trust?
I do.
Or trusted anyone close to you who knows the people that move in around this castle and this keep?
I have trusted advisors.
Perhaps discreetly, you could have them take stock of the people here. If the Tranquil are making a move, it's possible that they're already here. Take note of any new people moving through your castle walls. New troops. And she will glance at Captain Rama. Anyone probably within the last month. But it has to be done subtly. We can't tip our hat. And it's
Understood.
possible we might be able to. I know we won't know until they make a move, but we might be able to at least weed them out, force them to adjust their plan, which might make them become obvious, and then we can single them out.
I understand. This is not your problem. This will be a difficult task. A recent force of reconciliators marched through a few days before you were here. It could be anybody, but and caravans move in and out. Either way, I will speak to my advisors, and we'll do everything we can in our power to find anyone who could be identified as one of the assassins.
Yes, and no one who isn't authorized to be in this castle should be here. I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job, but maybe we could help ease some of the tension a little bit.
No, I understand. Emotions are high right now. I don't take any offense. But every minute we discuss this further is a minute Jathas has time to reassess his forces.
I agree.
Are there any final plans that we need to enact while you're here?
She shakes her head. Not that you can't make the decision on your own.
Keep the child safe.
She just nods to you. In that case, generals, you are dismissed. And she motions to all of you as she starts to turn back and head to a private door to parts of the castle unknown. Is her private quarters area, hallways, etc. Leaving the four of you in the room as the rest of the guard captains, the generals, file out.
Borax leaves with them.
It's time to go. I will meet you all in front of the catacombs tunnels in 1 hour.
She just nods.
Full disclosure, I need to roll for recovery, so I need that hour.
Yeah, I assume all of you need to roll for some things, or some of you need to roll for some things. Cool. That is where we'll end this episode. We have a decision next week, or next episode, rather. We set out into the great beyond, the unknown north, to find whatever's happening out there by the river. I know what it is.
If
when
we
I
walk
leave
out
the-
there and find a freaking ship of the line, I'm gonna be so annoyed because
When
there's
I
still
leave the
gunpowder.
war room, I pick up Mina's cutout and I tuck it under my arm and I walk
And
out.
head out with it. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
The stagehand goes, no.
yeah,
It's the one with the thumbs up.
Yeah.
yeah.
The last one used. Yeah, I made.
If you look behind the curtain, there's a Seydlitz and Terry's and Korax cut out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
So I made for these plans far more in depth than what you guys have, because you only stole fragments of information. But it was very interesting to see you guess and assume what they all were, which is very cool. And I'm excited to see some random. Well, I guess they're not random, but some patrons that are not these four people that we see here before them, or these three plus Norm, run that mission to the south, which I will tell you, that plan is called the Gloomspire Siege. So that's
I hate
fun.
it.
That's
I
fun.
hate it.
That sounds happy.
Watch them. We sent them against the tranquil guys.
You did not. I will tell you, since it's already been decided. So here are the plans. The Gloomspire Siege, deposed King Jathith has acquired a powerful and ancient artifact known as the Gloomspire Siege Engine. This colossal, otherworldly construct can provide destructive energy beams that can level entire city districts.
What
The
the
play-
fuck?
So we
players-
did find their siege artillery.
You did. The players must venture into hostile territories to retrieve the knowledge necessary to disable the siege engine or find a way to counter its destructive capabilities. So that is where the other people are going. I also
Probably should have
have.
said that because they're probably watching.
That's okay. They're gonna get this mission.
Huh?
They're gonna get the mission. It's gonna start media and res. They're gonna be there. The other ones that are left up to my dice rolls, which is even better, are shadow veiled assassins. Jason has employed a group of highly skilled assassins known as the Tranquil. These elusive and deadly operatives have infiltrated key positions within the city, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The players must unravel the network of spies and informants, expose the assassins' identities, and eliminate them before they can execute their coordinated attack on crucial figures in Samora's leadership. So that's left up to some dice rolls, which is fun.
That
And
one looks like it's gonna suck to try and figure out.
yeah, that was going to be a mystery. And the other one that is left up to dice rolls is called the Necrotic Tide. King Jathith plans to unleash a devastating magical ritual that taps into the dark powers of necromancy. Under cover of night, his undead army will rise from local and royal plots, breaching them from within. The players must race against time to find the hidden artifact fueling the ritual and stop the tide of undead before it engulfs Samora. So that's left up to some die rolls. And then there's yours, which we'll find out. We'll find out next month.
I'm just waiting for us and the one shotters to succeed, only to find out the dice rolls fail. That we just come back to a lost city
Yeah,
with all its leadership and it's to take it over, and all the leadership dead. It's like, well, shit. What do we do now?
the city is full of shambling corpses, and the queen is assassinated. Oh man! Cross your
Like,
fingers
well-
for my dice rolls.
I know. It's like, well, crap. What do we do now?
Yeah, it'd be very interesting.
man.
You will not be welcomed back with open arms. So that is where we'll end this episode of The Rise. You guys can catch us back here next month for more of these shenanigans. Before we get out of here, let's go around, do our introductions. We'll start with the very stressed and anxious G. Who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? And what are you up to?
Hi.
She's not happy
Yes.
of any of this.
Yes, I don't like the fate of the beloved beings in our campaign left up to other people. I am the friendly neighborhood lightning invoker. You can find me in the Discord for unMade Gaming, in the chat for all things unMade Gaming, and all things for the Patreon. Yeah, on Monday we have our new Q&A coming up
It's true.
for our Patreon, so make sure you come and hang out with that. And you can find me and Chris here on July 1st for the next episode of The Age of Always Atari Twilight.
Hell yeah. Speaking of Chris, Chris, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? And what are you up to?
I'm Chris aka Necro. You can find me in the Discord with G and DE on the Patreon one shots when those happen. I can't remember what week that is. The Rise, and with G, Melissa, and Greg on Atari Twilight in a couple weeks' time.
Yeah.
Apart
2 weeks.
from that, nowhere else. Just
Hell
the
yeah.
Discord.
And last but not least, Matt, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? And what are you up to?
I'm Matt or DE. You can find me on Mike's Discord here in the Patreon campaign one shots. And yeah, nowhere else.
Perfect.
I don't like social media.
And from Snow.
night.
Good night.
Good night.
No, it's still lopsided. It's just an image of the cutout lot still sideways with the thumbs up
It's
under
upside
Gary's
down
arm.
because he's in Australia.
He's like weekend at Bernie.
Wait, can I do this? Can I do this nonsense? Hold on. I have to do this fuckery. Can I? Oh, video settings.
Good night from down under.
This one's for you, Norm.
We love ya.
Oh man! Oh,
You
with
know,
that-
He hates us now.
Oh,
Right.
so much. He's gonna quit. With that, we're gonna get the hell out of here. Thank you guys so much. This is it for us, from all of us to you guys. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.